racing rides, people, and places. With your hosts, Brad Banshaw, Matt DeAndrea, and Aaron Hagar. New media for a new type of motorsport enthusiast.
That's right. Once again, we hit the record button and we are recording Shift and Steer, episode 496. We are closely moving in on that 500th episode. Man, that's a lot of episodes, man. That's a lot of episodes. So, you know what I always say though? Welcome to the party, pals. That's right. Welcome to the party, pals.
Not all your pals are here this week. Aaron's off on his rally.
Napa 750.
Yeah.
He's probably, what do you think? Maybe
prepare
225 into the 750?
He's yeah.
Yeah.
He did a lot of work prepping the cars and cleaning them up and polishing them and doing the artwork and getting
the goodie bags ready.
Goodie bags, the stickers on the cars and his plan is to switch cars a few times during the rally, and he's going to switch between the Mini and the Morgan, and then possibly the last day grab his dad's Cobra that he did a ride in a little while ago. Yeah, I didn't know if they had to adjust the suspension on that. He said the suspension might need a little bit of adjustment. So I don't know if he was going to do that prior to the rally or what, but yeah, it should be fun. I think he's going to have a good time.
Hopefully they have good weather, because the weather out here in California has not been the greatest. We had rain last weekend. Now the middle of the week, they're driving right now. It's been a little chilly, and then we had a couple really nice days. And now towards the weekend again, it's clouding over, and we're supposed to have rain again. So that's unfortunate.
I think it ends for them by the end of the week. I think it was kind of just isn't like a Monday.
I thought it was Sunday to Sunday. I could be wrong. What would I know?
Yeah, no, I think it's
5 days.
Yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, Tuesday through something. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. It should be, hopefully he'll get some good weather. But at least he has the options of if it's wet, maybe park the Morgan and take the Mini.
Exactly, yeah. Well, you know what? And they're in Northern California, so their definition of good weather is much different than us, because if it's not a torrential downpour, that's good weather for them. So
yeah, it's kind of chilly. It's always kind of chilly.
Yeah, it's always chilly up there. I think when we go to Monterey in August and you have to wear a jacket some mornings, it's like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I keep forgetting it's August, because you leave here and then you go there. He's got to bundle up. Got to be at the track at 8 a.m.
It's like years ago when I used to run the American Bicycle Association, and used to get me no matter how many times I did it. We would leave Phoenix and jump on a plane, and we would go to Washington or Oregon or somewhere. And, it might be late spring, and you'd get up there and you go, damn it, I forgot my jacket. Because when I got on the plane, it was 100 degrees,
Yeah.
And
not even wearing pants when you leave Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. Your flip flops and shorts, and you get up there and you go, "What was I thinking?" Hey, did you hear that Mercedes is bringing back the '80s style G-Wagon for an exclusive edition?
I did hear that. We talked a little bit about it on CarCast. Alistair's a fan.
Well, you know what? I bet Aaron would be a fan too. So we're not going to talk about it, because Aaron's not Aaron. He's our official overlanding guy. So we'll just leave you hanging on that.
They keep trying to, sort of offer different trim versions of the G-Wagon to keep that thing interesting. But again, the G-Wagon never really did that much for me. But limited edition, I like the retro stuff, the retro colors of some of the trim pieces. The interior is cool.
So I'm driving to work yesterday, and this guy goes past me on the freeway, and I saw it, and I had to catch up with it. I'm like, what the heck? And there's some company. I could not find a name on it. All I saw was wagon, okay? Which told me, all right, my first impression was right. It was a Bronco made to look like a G-Wagon. Everything was monochromatic. It was raised up with like tucked in tires, but big flares that were the same shape as like a G-Wagon.
Mm-hmm.
And everything about it, it just was they had painted it in a way that looked boxy and straight, and I went, somebody's going, see, maybe you don't want to pay as much for a G-Wagon and you could drive a Bronco and make it look like one, you know?
Yeah,
Because
probably
there was a
half the
body
price.
kit on it and stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like a kit for it. Is
There
it
must
a
be.
G-Wagon Bronco kit?
Yeah, the Bronco wagon, you know, or something. But it reminded me of when the Chrysler 300 came out, and there were the people making the kits to make it look like a Rolls Royce. You know, it had
Oh
a
yeah.
grill shell thing and everything. But I saw it and I went, was that a G wagon? And then I caught up with it. I go, that's a Bronco. And the more I looked at it, I go, it's got. And I kind of got back, and it had all the emblems gone, and it just said something wagon. It was like a script, and I couldn't read it.
You know, it's funny because you're talking about the Bronco upscaling to G-Wagon.
Mm-hmm.
There's a kit I think came out a few years ago that takes a Suzuki Jimny and ups it to being looking like a Ford Bronco.
Like a Bronco. Okay. So,
Yeah.
well, why don't they make a Suzuki Jimny that upscales to like a Bentley? You know?
Yeah, actually, and then the Suzuki ends up looking a little more like G-Wagon than it does Bronco anyway. So I'm not sure if they. I mean, it's
This one was
cool.
a good representation, I gotta say. I wish I could have found some more info on it, but it exited, and I'm not gonna follow the guy off the freeway just to, find
There's
that.
also a kit that makes the Suzuki look like a G-Wagon or a little Land Rover,
Oh,
but they kind of
uh,
look like toys. So
people.
yeah,
Um, hey, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, you can still get a truck. You really can. And last week, or was it earlier this week, that they
last
dropped the
last
slate? Last week.
Thursday
Yeah.
night.
And now it's everywhere. I mean, I've seen
Yeah,
ads on TV, on the internet, on everything. But the very first thing that we have to point out is that slate is interesting because if you notice the S in slate is the third letter of Tesla. The L is the last letter, or second to last letter of Tesla. The A is the last letter of Tesla. The T in slate and the E. So if you take all you just jumble them all around, it could be a Tesla. So is there something going on that we don't know about?
it's
No,
it's it's
it's
funny. I
just
didn't even think
happened to be
about.
a coincidence.
I didn't think about the I didn't think about it like being a play off of the Tesla name. I mean, when
Yeah.
they were pitching it, they're like, it's called the slate, meaning like clean slates, because you can kind of build it and option it out the way you want it. That's the way it's supposed to be, like a base kit, and you can add to it. But yeah, kind of funny that's what they did
Well, Matt, I'm
with.
a marketer and I know how these things go. So what happened was they were all sitting around and they said, Tesla, all right, they've done really well with the Tesla and make market penetration and everything like that. So let's just move the letters around and what could we come up with? And they said, well, we could come up with Latesa. No, 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 that doesn't work. How about the et Edilus? No, that doesn't work. When somebody said slate, you could use slate, and they went, "Well, okay, so what can we say?" Well, it's a clean slate. It's a this, it's a that, and that's how marketing works, man. It
Yeah.
just happened. And but let's talk about the slate. My first impression is, man, I'd buy one of those for my company to run back and forth to the wheel factory to haul wheels. And it really reminded me of the late 70s, early 80s mini truck. The Toyota, the Chevrolet Love, the Mikadu, the Nissan, all of those little pickup trucks, because what were they? They were cheap transportation that like parts stores. You'd see every Napa Auto Parts store. They'd be hauling parts around in those. You'd see young guys at school that could afford one. They would buy one as their first car, and they would have a first new car rather than what everybody else was doing was buying a first used car. And what's your first impression of them?
Well, I think it's a neat idea, and I like that you can add to it, and then if you want to add features to it, you don't have to. Not everything has to be like dealer installed. They will mail
Right.
you the pieces, and
Yes.
you can add to it, which is kind of cool, and it saves you the cost. It
Hell, you
becomes
could
sort of a
3D print your
DIY
own
project.
stuff. What do you mean?
And yes, you can print your own stuff. So it doesn't come with a radio, it doesn't come with speakers, it doesn't come with power windows, it's got roll up windows. It does come standard with air
I
conditioning.
was going to say they were smart. Standard
Yeah.
air conditioning. Yes.
Standard air conditioning. But so the price is actually 27,000. It's about
And crank up
20,000.
windows. When was the last production car you saw with crank up windows?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's going to be kids buying them going, "What are these? Did you see the windows? They just crank up, man." And the door locks, you have to pull them up and down.
Yeah. That's another thing. I don't think it has any kind of like key
Right.
fob, or I don't know how it works, but um so it's 27,000, but about 20,000 after the rebates because it is electric.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's like if the rebate isn't there for much longer, it's 27,000. And then if you add a few options, like you want the phone holder, and maybe you want speakers installed into it so you can connect your phone and listen, or if you want it to be the little SUV, right? And they put the back on it, does a little SUV conversion to it. That could add up to a few $1,000s. And without the EV credit, now you're into the $30,000 range,
Right.
around low 30s, and that's like, I don't know, like Honda HRV or whatever it is. Like there are some competitors out there where you get like a whole car. Like
Yeah,
if
whole
you think
car.
about an inexpensive Honda or something like there's it's a lot of bang for the buck.
And in
So
that car, you could actually drive it to Arizona, where this one, you're not going to make it.
no, and like if you look for what you were describing, for you to be around town, all around Orange County, and haul some wheels, and because the wheels are expensive, let's say you wanted to do the SUV conversion, you just
Hmm.
wanted the two seats in the front, the back, but you wanted it lockable, right? So maybe it's a couple grand to do that conversion, but you would probably still go with the base battery. It's a 150-mile range. Maybe, if you charge to 80% on average, and you haul around some weight, can think of it as like 110-mile range, somewhere around there. That probably works for you. But if you start going, oh, well, I need a place to hook up my phone so I can get directions and not have to just, I want speakers, I want the phone holder, I want the SUV back, and I want the bigger battery. It's
Now
like,
I'm
I think you're at
30,000
30
bucks.
grand with the discount, right?
Yeah,
In which
exactly.
case, just get the little Honda or something, right? So if if you don't add that stuff, then it's potentially an interesting, inexpensive vehicle. But you're right. It's like,
What do you mean? You just talked me into buying a 2005 GM pickup truck for like 12,000 bucks, and I can do anything with it.
yeah. And now when you're talking full size truck, you could put four boxes of wheels in the back, like a one full set of wheels, and then a hard tonneau or a shell or
Right.
something that's lockable, or at least at a site, right? So
Hmm.
there's that. Or I know you roll around in the big block SUV from that you.
I spend in a year on fuel what I could buy one of those for,
It's probably true. You could probably buy a Slate every year.
and put it in the back. And
Yeah, and carry it in the back. So, uh, I- you know, and also like I, it's smaller than a Maverick. It's smaller than a Ford Maverick. It's like a little smaller than a
Right.
Ford Maverick.
But
So
larger than the Kia. They've got that great graphic that shows the outline of the other vehicle around it. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, so you'd have to kind of crunch the numbers and go, is it worth it? Does it make sense? But I do like the idea of going, I'm just going to buy the basic model, EV tax credit. I'm going to be in that thing for 20 grand after some other sales tax. Maybe we're in it for 22 grand and just start using it. And then from there, you, maybe you want to decide and go, oh, I want the phone holder, or I'm going to add some speakers, or I'm going to add this option, or I'm going to add that option. You can do it over time. It doesn't have to be all built into the price of the vehicle,
Right. You can
especially if
always
you're
go
trying to
back. Yeah.
find something new with, I assume, some sort of warranty, and you don't want to finance it and go, I just want to pay 20 grand cash, 22 grand cash, and then maybe even build credit or something from there. Like, who knows? Then it could be interesting.
Well, that's when you go, hey, Dad, my birthday's coming up. Could you get me a radio? Hey,
Could
could you get
you?
me a phone holder? You could, but the thing is that this isn't the first time something similar to this has been done. If you look at when the smart car first came out, the in Europe, it was very much the same way. You could literally buy body panels for that car. You would buy the car basic, then you could buy wide body panels. You could buy them in different colors. They had one they called the Mondrian version where it was all different primary colors, and you could buy that body kit. You could add upgrades and things like that. But
Hmm.
it was a very similar thought process to the Slate, and it's interesting. I like to see that there's innovation and people are actually trying to think out of the box.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a little interested. I couldn't find. Did you find a lot of information on who actually structured the company, who put it together? Former executives of what company?
Um, I forgot who their CEO is, the woman in charge. I forgot what her background was, but the news is saying a lot of it is bankrolled by Jeff Bezos, but what they don't
Right,
keep saying
right.
is also Larry Ellison from Oracle. So
Yeah.
they've got some power players behind it. I think they just decided on a factory here in the U.S. Where it's going to be built. Interesting question would be like, if there's no dealers or anything, could it be sold on Amazon? Because Bezos is involved in this, but Amazon put in, I don't know, $500 million, whatever it was, into Rivian, right? And they
Right.
got the
We talked
vans
about
and
that.
the other
Yeah.
stuff. So uh, Amazon's in on Rivian. Bezos is in on Slate, but other car companies are already getting involved. I think Hyundai sells on Amazon. So why wouldn't Slate sell on Amazon, right?
Yeah. And then he could sell all the add-ons as we just discussed. Hey, I want a radio. You just go on Amazon, you order what you need, and you
Yeah.
want to. Oh, that was the other thing. It only comes in that charcoal kind of gray color, and then you can wrap it. They have wraps for whatever color you want to add.
Yeah. So I think you can also order it wrapped from the factory.
Yes. Yes.
What I was thinking before when I was talking about it on CarCast would be it would be great if as you're ordering it, you can work with them or like upload logos and stuff. So if you get it wrapped and you have a work truck, just get it wrapped with the Bond Speed Wheels truck
I get
already.
the impression that they're doing some of that, or they want to do some of that because of the
Yeah.
way their marketing is going and like that.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it makes
you can't
sense.
have a $20,000 truck and have the wrap cost $3,000. So
Right.
they're going to have to come up with an inefficient, like an inexpensive way of
Yeah, not
of
an
making that
inefficient
happen.
one.
But if you needed a custom wrap and just said, yeah, not inefficient, just inexpensive. If the basic color wrap was $500 option,
Yeah.
$400 option, then you said custom wraps, start at 800 and maybe go to 1200 or something if you need a full wrap. If they could actually do that and
Well,
partner with the company.
what they're going to have the advantage of doing is having it in scale. So they'll have the economies of scale if they're doing, it, thousands of them, the economies of scale that some wrap shops not not going to be able to do. Also, if they're doing it as the car is assembled, you don't have that extra step of taking it apart to wrap it to put it back together. So
And if they can get a machine to do it,
even
like,
better yet. Yes.
you know, just like I keep seeing the videos of I forgot the name of the company that refurbishes dashes, like dash pads.
Hmm.
And you have like the vinyl with the foam and stuff. You send it to them, they fix it, and then yeah, they put it in the machine and it sucks the like the vinyl or whatever onto the thing
Like
and
vacuum
heats
forms
it.
it.
Yeah, and it like doing it like that, or I forgot where I saw it. It was like a machine that they were testing. It's just an exercise in robotics, and it's a machine that makes a bed for you. So you see it like put the sheet on the bed, and then it tucks in the corners.
Yeah.
If they could just wrap the basic body like that, just like a machine, just 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 puts a
Well,
big color sheet above it and then it shrinks it on. It just bakes it and just kind of like heat shrinks it onto the body because it's small and if it doesn't have a lot of pieces to it, maybe they can just
I'm
do it that
trying
way.
to remember. I just saw something online the other day, a European car company um, that is doing that, that has worked with another company, and they said it's going to revolutionize painting of cars in production. And I don't know if you saw this, but it's precision. You know how you see the normal ones, the body rolls in and the paint guns come in, the robot comes in
Yeah.
and there is overspray everywhere and like that. These paint guns, they had like billet machined tips on them that were tricolor, and they come in and they were showing this car had the window glass in it and everything, and they said in this video that I watched, it showed how previously the car would come in, they would have to tape it off, put the plastic on it, do all of those things so that they could paint the stripes or the black roof with the red body color. Now this robot comes in and it is so precise. It comes in and it painted the stripes on the hood without even masking them off. Then it painted the door sills up across the top. It showed it. And what was strange about it was the pattern that it did it in. You would expect it to go front to back, front to back. One was going side to side while the other one was going front to back. And it painted it. And then they said it goes into the next room, gets cured, and it's done. They never even have to mask the car off. And it was just amazing. Think if they could do something like that where they wrap it and then it goes down the line and whatever logo's programmed in gets sprayed onto the wrap, and
Yeah.
it's done. It's like
Right now they don't have a budget for it, so they wrap it, and then some guy runs in there with a cardboard template and a rattle can,
exactly.
and then it says Bond Speed Wheels on the back. It's a
They
little
go, Brad,
trippy.
that robot costs more than our whole factory. Okay, but,
Yeah, the logo may run a little bit as it dries,
exactly.
but it's fine. It'll be fine. Anyway, it's an interesting idea. We were talking about it off the air last week, and you had pointed out it's like, you know what, if if you need a first car and you're learning to drive, or you just need something, like it's not a bad way to go. It's an EV, it's quiet. You don't have to go to the gas station. I mean, the range isn't huge. It's not going to be fast, but uh, it would be an interesting proposition. I keep thinking about as commercial vehicles and even fleets and even offering them as like little rental moving trucks. But the company SLATE, their whole proposition was to consumers. They're like,
Yeah,
everyone's going to want one of these. I'm like, I don't know that everyone's going to want one of them.
yeah. What was the car company they discontinued? Had the I was going to say rats, but they were like um, mice or something, cartoons driving them. And back in the 2000s, that it was going to be the huge spin-off of one of the
Oh,
major car companies.
Scion?
Scion, there we go.
Yeah.
They remind me
Rats
a little
driving
bit of
it.
the Scions, a little bit there. Do you remember what were
Yeah,
they?
yeah,
They
yeah.
weren't rats. They
I think it
were
was a hamster.
hamsters. There we go. Yeah. And they were all like bopping out to music and
Yeah.
everything like that. And Scion was going to be the next coming of, economy cars and
Yeah.
cool. And so let's hope that it doesn't go the way of Scion.
Well, I mean, it's different. So I think they have an opportunity here. But they,
Well, I will say they've already made a huge, huge mistake in their marketing and in their branding and everything, which is they didn't invite us to the opening here in California, the drop of the vehicles.
uh,
So SLATE, what the hell were you thinking?
yes, sorry to burst your bubble, but they did invite me.
Oh, they invited you, but you
Yeah.
just didn't go?
I didn't have a chance to go, but Alistair went from Edmonds. I knew he was going,
Yeah.
and I should have went. I had something else. It's on like a Thursday night in like
Well,
Long
I'm
Beach
seeing
or
some of
something.
these people that are like being flown in from other parts of the country and stuff to California. I'm thinking, wait a minute, shift and steer sitting right here, and they didn't have us come out. So, poof,
Yeah, yeah, missed opportunity.
missed
Sorry.
opportunity. That's right. For them, our numbers are growing, everybody. Come on, man.
The word is out. The word is out.
Hey, thanks everybody. By the way, we've been posting, as most of you know, our new drops from our show, just little segments of each of our videos. And we have our own channel on YouTube. So go to Shift Steer Media on YouTube, find old episodes, back episodes, and all of our new ones. And then we've got shorts that we're posting both on our social media and at our Shift Steer Media channel. Go check that out because it's blown up. I mean, Matt, we posted the first four, and like in 24 hours, they were getting 2,000, 2,500 views, and that means people like that stuff. So it's great. Little excerpts so that you know what's going to be on the episode you're going to watch.
Yeah.
So,
All right, let's take a quick break.
Matt, you know what I would suggest is that we take a quick break
Let's do that.
right now. We're back. Yeah,
We're
that's right.
back.
We're back.
So we might be getting a another hot Mustang. The rumor is a GT 500, something to a notch above the Dark Horse, which is already 500 horsepower. Very, very cool car, a lot of capability. Presumably something supercharged, maybe even turbo. I mean, the GT 500 is a pretty high benchmark already with the DCT, and 760 horsepower supercharger. Everyone says it's going to be a GT 500. I also saw spy photos of potentially something in between a Dark Horse and a GT 500. I'm not sure if that makes a lot of sense to do like a Mach 1 because that's basically what the Dark Horse was already meant to be.
So that would be a dusk horse?
Or maybe, yeah.
Yeah, dusk horse.
Is it going to be a GT 500? I certainly hope so. I think there's a lot of brand equity there. If they were able to renew the licensing and make that work for them financially, they may end up calling it something else. But you can see the test car that they have out there, the mule they have out there. It looks like a Dark Horse, and it's got some hodgepodge pieces put on, different front end. It looks like bigger grill, bigger openings for cooling and radiators. It looked like it had the previous GT500 carbon fiber wheels on it as well. So clearly they're trying to do some test fitting or something with that. But I don't know.
Now I'm
It'd be kind of
confused though.
interesting.
You said it was a Mustang, and then just now you said it was a mule. So which is it?
Yeah, yeah.
It's the Ford Mule?
It's I I keep thinking of the meme that kept popping up when you say uh a 93, we think of the Mustang Cobra, and you're like, it's a fox body Mustang Cobra, and then somebody had like a fox body shape, and then it had like a cobra head, and it had like a horse tail, and it didn't make sense. Like I don't like a fox body Mustang Cobra. You're right, that doesn't make sense, but
You know what's amazing though, seriously, is that Ford is has gone all in on the Mustang. I mean, you've got the Mustang Mach-E, you've got we've heard of other things that they're, you know, playing with the Mustang name. And then you look at the Chevy Camaro,
Hmm.
which those cars, if they were cousins, they would have grown up together, right?
Yeah.
Well, and the Camaro's dead. The Camaro is just gone. And yeah, there's rumors that they'll bring it back again, but it's certainly not prized as the Mustang is with Ford.
Yes. And the Dodge Challenger, which had a good long run,
Right.
and they ended up doing a bunch of specialty versions, which kept that thing alive, gave it some collectability. And you're right. So Ford, when the Mach-E came out, they were running the risk of going, can we build a brand around the Mustang name, have Mach-E and then have EcoBoost and GT and Dark Horse and maybe GT 500. And then the decision was made to not have like a Ford GT Halo car, right? Instead, the GTD, they made a version of the Mustang as the Halo car because that sells everything underneath it, right?
Right.
Look at
It's
what Porsche
aspirational.
does.
People can go,
Yeah,
I
what
can
Porsche
never
does
get
with
a GT,
911.
but I can have a version of a Mustang, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And I can make it look like a GTD. I can buy body kits and wings and things like that and exhaust and whatever and wide fender flares and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Ford's intention was to sort of emulate on the sports car side to emulate what Porsche was doing the 911, all the variations
Yes.
of it. And then at that time, the other companies were kicking around the idea of building out a brand like that, building out like Corvette was like, oh, we're going to do a four door like a sports coupe, like a M6 or something like that, BMW. And it just didn't take it. They just backed away from it. They just said, no, I don't think it's going to happen. That maybe they were afraid it was going to dilute the Corvette brand name, but I don't think the Mustang Mach-E hurts the Mustang lineup. I think it's fine. I think you go with one or the other. I don't think there's a lot of cross shopping, and I don't.
I'll
And
be
I don't even
honest.
think people call it a Mustang anymore. People just say it's the Mach E.
When I first saw it, I was underwhelmed. I was kind of like, okay, why'd they put the Mustang name on it? However, over the years, seeing consumer reactions, seeing how it's evolved and things like that, I think it totally makes sense because number one, they have a brand that is well established, well respected, and loved. So why not play on that to the person who goes, yeah, I can't have a Mustang right now. I've got kids. I have this, or the guy who just has different needs in a vehicle and goes, hey, I can get a Mustang Mach E. Mach E, it might just be like, Mocky Mock. But it's like, but no, but where they go Mustang, it could actually be a deciding factor for a lot of consumers where they go, it pushes them over because, hey, it's a Mustang. It's not just another Ford SUV, it's,
Right. And when they did it, it needed to have some amount of sort of performance benchmarks to be
yes.
met when they were creating it. And I think it was last August when we sat down and spoke with Jim Farley at Ford. I go, listen, you're all in on Mustang. You're doing all sorts of racing. You're getting back in sports car racing. You got the GTD. Maybe that thing's going to race Le Mans. You're hitting the dirt. You got the Bronco out there. You got your trucks out there. You're doing Baja stuff. And I I it was very brief in the interview, but I was like, I asked him, well, what about an off-road Mustang, like the 911 Dakar? Like,
Yeah.
the 911 was Dakar is like it's cool. It's gonna have all the 911 bits, the performance and handling of 911 bits, but lift it a little, the knobby tires, give it some off-road cape, give it some,
Hmm.
and there's history there, so why not do it? I said, a Mustang like Dakar? And he was like, yes. And I was like, okay. And then he changed the subject. I'm like, wait a minute. Did you just commit to saying that that's going to happen? Or you just meant, yes, you would like to see that happen? And he was telling me, he was like, he was sort of admitting that off-road's not really his thing. It is for the brand, it is for the company. He's a speedway
Bronco
but
and things like
what I
that.
mean,
Yeah,
not his thing. I mean, he's a driver. You know, you've
right.
seen him on the track.
Got his Cobra. He's got
His
his track.
Cobra
Yeah.
and Lola, and I
Hmm.
think he has a Boss 302 and a handful of things that he races. I just don't think he's done a lot in the dirt. So um, I wouldn't be surprised you talking about that extension for the Mustang brand having some sort of limited production like off-road Mustang like the 911 Dakar,
Matt,
which
you
could be
missed
cool.
your opportunity. You were sitting there when he said that, and you got to that point. You go, well, you know what? Maybe take a step towards it by giving me a brand new dark horse, and I'll create one for the SEMA show.
Yeah, but I don't have the space for it. Anyway, it potentially some cool stuff there. I like what they're
Yeah.
doing in racing, you know. But anyway, this all started because yeah, a GT500 potentially back if the licensing deals are done, but having a hotter Mustang like that, something in between the dark horse and a GTD, it could be cool.
It would. It'd be really cool. Um, this is getting to be the time of year, Matt, where before my boat got wrecked, um, I might be going out to Havasu out there, you know, flying along in my boat and enjoying the weather and the
Yeah.
spray and the fun. And, well, there's some people that are still doing that, and there's some
Well,
people that are still wrecking their boats. I didn't
yeah.
wreck mine. Mine was wrecked for me, but
Well, yours was wrecked on land, which is
which is totally different by a
yeah.
guy in a pre-runner. So that's like, we're combining two stories, off-roading and wrecking
So
boats.
yours was a Hallett with like a
Yeah.
Paul Pfaff motor in it.
Yes. I had it
Yeah.
all dialed in. It was a Hallett with Pal Pfaff motor, 27 enclosed front bow with a salon downstairs, and it had the great, stainless steel prop and everything, and love that boat. It was fast. It was very fast. I
I would
I had
imagine it
that
was.
boat up to 100, and it was a good solid boat, man. Nice wide
Yeah.
beam and everything.
You
But
you
it
gotta
is
know
living.
how to drive it if you're out there. Anything can happen, as you're saying.
Yes, it can even happen on land with a boat.
It can
You know
happen
how
on
they
land
say
with a boat.
boats cost you money. My boat cost me money even on land. Look at that. But what we're getting to is, if you haven't seen it online yet, uh, you should Google it and look for Havasu boat flips. And this was a very special boat, of course. This was a tunnel hull canopy boat. So it was made to go fast. And it was going fast. Let me tell you, if you're not a boater, or what I should say, like what I had, an offshore power boat, if you've never had one of those, you really don't know speed, because 50 miles an hour on the water is so different than 50 miles an hour in a car.
Oh,
And
the sensation of speed on a boat is so elevated.
yes, yes, it's amazing. And just how you got to work the throttle. And one of the biggest things for me was learning, of all the things I had to learn, was pulling into the docks, because you don't have brakes. I mean, you got to put it
Yeah.
in reverse and then when you put it in reverse, you don't have as much steering, and it took a little bit to learn that. But this tunnel hull was out there for the what they call the 2025 Desert Storm Shootout. And what it is they take a section of the lake and carve out a huge area, and they're timed for 3/4 of a mile, and they go one at a time, and the fastest boat flat out wins. And this boat has won a lot of other championships. And well, this time things kind of caught up with them, because the boat was doing just over 200 miles an hour. They said
So
anywhere
fast.
from 202 to 206, and it was called Freedom One was the name of the boat. And when you see this, Matt, am I exaggerating when I say this thing just starts to skip out of the water, and then it shot up like a rocket and flipped in the air. And I don't know what the height was, but it was so high in the air.
They claim it was at least 30 feet in the air, but it kind of spins around like twice in the air. It is
Yes.
so insane. But I didn't dig into to all the specifics because I saw the initial video just on social media. But uh, at least it's comforting to hear like it was a planned event. It was a race. It was a racing boat with
And
a
not just
racing
some
team.
schmo. Yeah.
It wasn't, yeah, just some drunk idiots trying to go fast out there and making it super dangerous. With other people on boats in the water with this thing
Yeah.
flying through the air, like it, which is, I got, I understand they got a little hurt, a little bumped up, and maybe a couple of broken pieces here and there, but the people on the boat were, uh, you know, they're okay, they're alive. But again, like they would have safety gear, they would have the proper safety gear.
They
It
were
wasn't a couple
strapped
dudes in
in, they
flip
were in a
flops with Bud
canopy.
Lights. Yeah,
Apparently, what one they didn't differentiate who was who, but one of them, of the two, you have the throttle man and the pilot. One had a broken collarbone and bruised ribs, and the other had a fractured knee. If I was to guess, I would guess the pilot had the fractured knee because he had the steering wheel and the steering column in front of him. You
yeah,
know, but I bet the fractured collarbone was probably because of the straps going over their shoulders, and at that kind of violence, it
yeah.
probably broke his collarbone. But it's an amazing piece of footage, and as you said, there is it's so good that it wasn't, because when I first saw it, I thought, look at this guy. I didn't know it was an organized event. And I
Yeah.
thought it was that, just some guy. Now, I had a personal friend of mine, buddy of mine. I've talked about him here on the show. He had the Lamborghini Aventador SV.
Yeah.
And he just got, oh, by the way, he just got his new Lamborghini. The, what's the newest one that's out? Gosh, I can't remember the name of
It's
it.
got, I don't know how to pronounce it.
I know it's a really hard name to pronounce. He ordered it 2 years ago. It just arrived. He sent me a photo of it like 2 days ago. And now this is a guy who,
There's the Tema Mario. I think that's the new one, the Tema Mario.
but
Tamario.
now this is a guy who got the SUV to drive while he was waiting the 2 years for his new one. And I said, I said, hey, you gonna get rid of? He goes, hell no, I'd like driving that. I'm gonna drive that every day still, And
And then what's the big one? The Revolto?
Revolto, that's what he got. That's what he
Yeah.
got. The Revolto.
That place replaced the Aventador.
Right.
And then the Tamario, or
That comes to Mario.
that's the smaller one.
Yeah, no, he got the Revolto. He ordered it 2 years ago and it finally came in, and he sent me pictures of it. Well, anyway, back to the story. He had a tunnel hull boat, but an open, not a canopy.
Yeah.
When I used to go out, we used to hang out with them. That's where I met him. And and he was out with a guy. They had identical boats. His was a twin motor boat, and so was the other guy's. And he said to me, he goes, Brad, the guy's name was Bob. The other guy was. He goes, Bob is gonna sink that boat before the motors are even broke in. And I go, really? And he goes, he drives like a crazy man. And what they would do is they would get up at like 5 a.m. before anybody was on the lake, and when it was still like glass, and they go for a speed run. And sure enough, it wasn't 2 days after he said that to me, he came in and he goes, well, Bob sank his boat this morning. I go, what? And he goes, oh yeah. And he goes, and it's a total loss. I go, how do you know that? And he goes, because it went under the water running. And he goes, he didn't shut it down. And he said he was flying along, and he said, I backed off. He goes, I shut my throttles down because it was getting so choppy. And he goes, he kept going, and he bounced. And he said the air caught the front of the nose, put it like almost straight up and down. And then it just, hit like, imagine, the air just hits the bottom now because it's straight up and down. Now it's a block. And he said
Yeah.
it stopped and just full running. He could hear it going, and it went straight under the water. And he goes, it just went straight down. And he comes up and he goes, I pulled over and got him. And I go, oh my God. And I go, it went under running. He goes, oh yeah, you could hear it going, and he goes, it just he goes, and this boat was like 2 weeks old. I mean,
Oh, man.
it's
He was
just
okay, I guess, if he
oh
just
yeah, he was fine. He was
floated to the
fine.
top and got picked
But
up.
it's just but you know, but they were doing probably, I don't know, 85, 90 miles an hour, which is fast on water, but nothing I can't imagine. You hear about the guys. I've always wanted to go down to the Florida Keys and do like an offshore power boat because it just looks so fantastic on that
Yeah.
glassy blue water. But when you see those cigarette boats down in the Keys and they're going, and you watch them and the props the only thing in, and you just see that deck just kind
Yeah.
of skipping off the water. You just like, wow, that's nuts, so crazy.
I knew a guy out here that he had a speedboat like that, like
Mm-hmm.
a cigarette. I think it was, I don't know if it was cigarette who actually made it, cigarette racing, and we just took it out, off of Marina del Rey, Venice area, and just did a quick run in it. And, you know, even then that was probably 70, 80 miles an hour,
Which is
and it's,
crazy because our ocean out here is choppy. In
yeah, I mean,
Florida,
it was
there's
a nice
places that are
day.
like
And
glass.
once you get going, you realize like you've got to hold on. There's these handles and stuff around you that you kind of have to hold on to. Like getting out there and getting up to the speed's not bad, but once you're at a pretty high speed, and he wasn't anywhere near 100% of that thing because you're
Oh
right. It's
yeah.
just it's rough, it's bumpy, it's dangerous. But that thing that once you start getting on the throttles, man, the noise and of course the speed and the sensation of speed, it's pretty nuts.
My grab bar for the for the passenger was, all machined out of billet aluminum and had the finger notches where you hold on to.
Yeah.
And I used to give my wife a hard time. I'd say, yeah, when I bought that, they were just round, and now you've just put all those finger notches into it. She hated speed runs. When I'd look over at it, I'd go, speed run. No, no, no. She'd grab on for dear life, put her seatbelt on, and we'd blast down. I remember back in my Vision days, uh, my partner at Vision, he wanted to get a cigarette boat and wanted me to go in on it with him. And he goes, Brad, we could make Catalina in 20 minutes in that thing. And I'm thinking, yeah, if we make it that far, because it's not like Florida. But that good video if you can find it. Something not so good. And we were talking about Ford and Porsche and emulation and like that. Let's hope that Ford doesn't emulate the 1969 stretch 2+2 Porsche 911 that's for sale on Hemmings right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kind of
designed by
goofy.
a top designer, but it's when you think of how long it took for them to build the Panamera, right? Maybe this was the reason why. Maybe they kept looking back at that, going, "Well, we tried it once before and it just didn't work." But this car was lengthened 7.5 inches, man. You saw photos of it.
Yeah, I
I
saw
mean,
it.
it's not pretty, is
No, it's
it?
you're right. It it's you're right. Like the proportions are off. It's weird.
It's very strange for Porsche because this was not something somebody built outside. This was actually commissioned by Porsche as a design study. And for them to let it get out, because a lot of times, as we know, car companies will do things. And then when they say, yeah, that's not going to work for us, they crush them or they put them in a museum or something like that. I mean, wasn't there and there might be some out there actually, but like in 65, 66, a Mustang station wagon, like a 2+2 type station wagon.
Yeah, I did. I don't remember who built it, but yeah.
Yeah. And those, I'm sure they didn't like that a whole lot either. But they're proud of this because they're on Hemmings. It's listed at $1,250,000, which that seems extremely. Even last episode, we were talking about how much 911s are going for these days, but that's even steep by that standard. That's pretty pricey. But plus the fact that that green, it does not accent the lines of that car at all.
The Mustang station wagon looks better than the extended 911.
Yes. Well, or the remember the Pontiac Trans Am station wagon with the glass, like the rounded glass back panels and everything. It was cool. And I guess we could round out today's show with as we went on air, I was watching a car chase, and the helicopter pilot was tracking him. This was happening in Miami, and the helicopter pilot was tracking it, and he goes, the funniest thing about it was a Charger,
of course, and it was in Florida.
Yeah, and it's whipping in and out of traffic on the freeway, and he goes, we're tracking this car right now, and it's going. Matt, you have to do the flop, flop, flop sound in the background, or I can't do it. You have to go flop, 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 flop.
Oh, for the helicopter.
Yeah, for the helicopter. Here we go. Okay, we're tracking that car right now, and it is going 152 miles an hour. And the reporter at the studio said something, and he goes, but I want to tell you, that's even faster than the last chase we had a couple days ago with a Charger. And it's just like, but 152 in traffic, you are putting not only your life on the line, but everybody else's. But man, you're just dumb, because I mean, you can't, anything at 152 on a highway like that is just nuts. That's crazy.
You're still gonna have a hard time outrunning the helicopter and the radios and the
yeah. But I remember in the movie where they Cannonball Run. There, what car was it where the jet propelled helicopter couldn't keep up with them across the desert? It was, and I don't know if that was just movie. I never looked it up to see if that was movie lore or if that. I think it might have been the Ferrari, and it was like if the Ferrari Daytona could outrun a jet propelled Hewlett Packard or not. I don't know. It'd be an interesting, fun fact that maybe we can answer on the next episode of Shift and Steer. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hey, on the next episode, probably get ready for Aaron to talk all about the Napa 750 and what cars he drove. And hopefully he tells us about a good time and not too many issues on the weather. And we'll have some other interesting things to talk about. And that's a promise, not a threat, because we'll be back with another edition of Shift and Steer. And don't forget our podcast channel on YouTube, Shift Steer Media.